Welcome to another week of Available Work. Folks, we're going to talk about grants. We're going to talk about resources. This is the episode that you would be sharing to all of your friends and employers and everybody in the workforce development system that you care about. I think this is a huge day, and I really appreciate. Today we have Kerry and Mary from Texas Workforce Commission, and like I said, great resources. Everything has always, all the questions that I've received usually have some form of Kerry and Mary, and I'll let them introduce themselves. It's like we're playing cards, so I'm dealing to the left right here, and of course we have Katie McKee keeping us on the rails.
So hi, Commissioner. This is Kerry Ballast. I work in the Workforce Development Division, and I'm in this amazing area where I work on workforce education and an outreach. And
Awesome.
So my team is all about working with high school students all the way up to people in their careers. What do you want to be? What do you want to be now? What extra skills do you need? And we're the team that puts people out there and gets them trained in response to what our employers are saying that we need.
Educating them on how to get where they think they want to be.
That's it. That's it.
That's huge. That's a big deal. We always appreciate all the work that you do. And like I said, a lot of the questions that we receive through all of the connections and events and things we do usually involve a call to Kerry, you, and obviously Mary when it comes to a lot of our grants and stuff like that. Mary, how you been?
Good. It's been busy around
Yeah,
here.
Y'all been busy this morning.
It has been busy. And I should say your name doesn't have to rhyme to be in the Workforce Development Division, but it sure is nice.
It's fun.
It is fun.
Yeah.
So my name is Mary York, and I oversee workforce development for the Texas Workforce Commission. That includes the programs and initiatives that Kerry oversees, as well as our relationships with our amazing 28 local workforce development boards that serve Texans and employers throughout the state through about 170 different offices. So whether you are a business owner seeking new employees or to upskill your current employees, or whether you're a job seeker looking for a new opportunity, we should have resources to help you.
And resources, folks, this is your money at work, and literally at work when it comes down to it. I know that you also encumber the employer outreach groups, right? You'll have
Absolutely
people all over the state.
Absolutely. We have 10 different regions for our employer engagement team. Again, they report to Kerry, and they really are employer liaisons, the business liaisons throughout the state, where if an employer has any type of need related to the Texas Workforce Commission, if we can't help them directly, then we get them in contact with the team who can.
Good.
So they might field a question that's not really related to grants or training at all, something about employer's tax account. Well, we should be able to help them get the resources they need. Or, we have the amazing vocational rehabilitation division, and they do some different work than us, although still helping people get into the workforce and overcome barriers. So if you're interested in hiring people with disabilities, our team helps you make that connection as well. So really there to serve any type of employer of any size, as well as work closely with the economic development community throughout the state.
What I like about that is that is how good policy is derived from. It's a ground up type of thing. Your team is working with employers in different regions, and that information and strategies come through the chain to tell us exactly what's going on in the world. As a current snapshot, I think you'd say, right?
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that I really appreciate about having those additional boots on the ground is they're there to work really closely with our local workforce development board partners, as well as, when there's an on-site meeting with an employer or a community college partner or technical college, they're able to be there in person, do any additional technical assistance or, again, help make those connections.
And how many folks do y'all have doing that right now?
There are 10
of them?
people on our employer engagement team. So we have it divided up into regions. And if you were to visit twc.texas.gov/skills, you would be able to see the map to find the business liaison closest to you.
That's great. And really want to thank them directly right from here. they're at everything. We're asked to provide resources to employers through the Governor Small Business Summit events, through our conference for employers that we host. They're pretty much at all these events, and they're always great familiar faces. They know what they're talking about. They're always helping me not walk into the wrong doors when it comes down to figuratively and literally, I think, too. So yeah, huge appreciation to them. But yeah, this episode is all about resources and what we can do to support you as employers, our workforce development folks, our economic development, with pretty much anything that you need from this. But the big question, why is investing in workforce in the local area, workforce training, crucial for Texas's businesses right now? What's the linchpin that what are we trying to avoid, or what are we trying to do better at when it comes down to that?
So I see Kerry over here looking at me like I should answer that, but she didn't mention this, but she has the privilege of working with a couple of our other agency partners, the Higher Education Coordinating Board and the Texas Education Agency, on an initiative called the Tri-Agency Initiative. Sure. And I think that might be a good place to start about how we are working together as a team to really look at what employers need and collaborate.
Thank you. And you're right. So number one, starting at the local level, for anyone who's grown up in Texas, we know you just drive a few miles and you're going to hear new needs and see a new landscape and meet new employers and see new industry. So very important for us to consider where these industries or businesses are wanting to grow and how we can work with them. The other nice part about this is that when an employer is looking for resources or information, that information can range from what's happening in our high schools to what's happening in our colleges to what's just happening in the workforce in general. And by the three agencies working together, no matter who the question comes to, we put our heads together to come up with the best answer for them. We work together on building pathways within those regions, very local to what the schools have there and what the employers are saying that they need, which I think is very important, because who hasn't felt like they've walked in the wrong door before? That's rule number one. No matter what's asked, we find a way to bring together education and workforce locally.
Great.
And to work with the employers there.
That's wonderful.
And, I think the kind of driving force behind that is Texas is incredibly blessed. We have a thriving economy, and it doesn't show any signs of really slowing down. And so I think, over the last few years, especially, we have seen, sort of a tight labor market where employers are truly, in some cases, desperate for talent. And, if they can get someone who is willing to work in the door, then they're either willing to train them or, work with us to get them trained. Yeah. And so, right now, we actually have this sort of interesting phenomenon that in terms of individuals who are available for work but unemployed, and those job openings in Texas, they're roughly about the same, but the skills don't match, right? So what do we need to do to get the skills to match, and how can TWC and our partners serve as a resource to help employers get what they need?
And you mentioned that the economy right now, Texas is so diversified that it's very resilient to what's going on globally. The idea here is, what we've been seeing, our businesses are still moving here, and they're still looking for open space, and a lot of that usually is adjacent to metropolitan areas. So we're talking rural communities when it comes down to it. So those are the areas that are more predominantly impacted by an influx of interest from a new employer. We've had a couple of representatives, Texas Association for Business, our economic development partners. They're hustling, bringing new opportunities to the area, to the state, in general. How are we supporting that type of initiative when it starts? The first thing an employer is going to do when they move into an area is, where's our workforce coming from? And you kind of touched on it. It's a lot. I think it's always a great opportunity to find somebody with a good attitude and motivated and train them, right? So we definitely support the training side of things, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I would even to back it up a little bit and build off of what you were saying. So we work very closely with economic development, both at the state and local level. So before a company even makes a decision to locate here or expand here, TWC and frequently the local workforce development board is at the table talking about what that business is going to need in order to be successful and how that community can provide that, whether it's through this talent pipeline coming through our educational system and including higher education and technical schools, or whether it is our existing workforce and whether they have the skills that they need. So we might, when we're talking to a prospect, discuss things like the Skills Development Fund and how that could be used to upskill new employees or even incumbent employees to get some additional training and be ready to work.
So the grant program, this is bread and butter when it comes down to it. This is your tax dollars being put to work, getting people to work. I think that's kind of what the idea here is. You mentioned Skills Development Fund. What does that do?
Skills Development Fund helps, in the long run, increase the wages and opportunities for the Texas workforce. But the way that it does that is by supporting employers who are needing training to grow their business here in Texas. So, or maybe they are adding a new product or changing processes and need some additional training for those existing employees.
So we're talking about like an employer that's expanding.
Potentially expanding or, again, retooling,
Yeah.
things like that. So we work with community and technical colleges, workforce boards, and the Texas Engineering Extension Service to provide grants of approximately $2,000 per employee to get them the technical training they need to be successful on the job.
That's great, and that's through a partnership, right? It's employers or anybody that's interested in looking at this would partner with the training organization.
Yes. So the grantee is typically one of those organizations I was talking about.
Yeah.
And so the business itself they don't receive the dollars directly, but they do receive the training for their workforce. So, the most important part for the business is identifying their need and working with, for instance, that local community college to develop the courses, because these are customized training based on exactly what the employer needs, and then making sure that your people are available to come in for the training. So sometimes that's actually the biggest hurdle, is especially for a business that's really booming, is saying, okay, Joe, it's time for you to go to training, this week. And so being able to let Joe off of the line or, out of the facility for however the length of the training. But yeah, it's a fantastic program. And one of the things that's most impactful about it is it can help build capacity at the local level, because while we may be participating in a skills development fund project with that business, one time or two times or however many times, ultimately we know that they are a part of that community and being served by that college system in the area. And we want them to have the training available and in some cases equipment to do the training at that local level.
Kerry, I've got a kind of a question. Maybe this is more directed to you. What's the most common request that hits your department when it comes down to any kind of response? So your stakeholders are primarily employers, right?
You're right. You're right.
Fair?
And I guess the most unique thing about our area is this is where education and workforce come together. And it's that recognition that for the workforce to grow, there's some education involved. So what we often hear is, how do we keep these workers and grow these workers, but also get them the education or the instruction that they need? And so we're very often working on that. My area is very big on work-based learning.
Oh, good.
We love to see workers in the workplace and learning while they're on the job. I think there's plenty of research and statistics out there that say that's just about the most effective way you can do this.
Yeah. Oh.
So whether it's an internship, any of the many different ways that you can do apprenticeships, externships, that's where we like to focus our work. It's one thing to sit in a classroom and absorb and then hope that it transfers over into the workplace, but what we really want to see is both of those happening in the same place and at the same time. Just some really good application.
I'm grateful for that because you're right, and that spreads over training. I know that there's we talk a lot about not only is this good for the employer, but the employee or the person that is able to get into those training programs. Usually they lack maybe a couple of hours of some kind of training to get a credential, and credentialing up, training up, opens them to higher wages and more responsibility, more leadership type of opportunities. That's kind of what y'all have seen too, I think.
Absolutely. And going along with Kerry's reference to work-based learning, I think this grow your own
Investing
investment
in your own people
is really, key here. Yeah. So whether that is through an apprenticeship, and that could be a registered apprenticeship program or an industry recognized apprenticeship, or whether that's through a program like Skills Development Fund, the state is choosing to make an investment in those employees and in your business, really. And it's a great way to make sure that our workforce is benefiting in the long run. Yeah.
And on top of that, we talk about a lot about internships, but the ability to bring somebody on as an intern that hasn't had the experience of working in an office or working in an area or an industry itself, and learning soft skills and learning how this works, where to go, how to ask, who to ask, and how politely, I think that's another huge initiative that we're taking on as an agency, but just as kind of a generation that is passing on our working industry to the emerging workforce that are coming out of high schools and colleges right now.
I've often heard that through experiences like an internship, you also get to learn the culture of the workplace, and you pretty quickly know good fit for me, good fit for the employer, and it's really a good way to become exposed to the future of your work and make sure you're making the right decisions.
Yeah, and we partner with the coordinating board. Higher Education Coordinating Board has their TextWorks program that offers that they help provide a wage, right?
So one of the things with the TX Works, Texas Works program is those individuals have to be enrolled in, an institution of higher education.
Yeah, makes sense.
For our program that we're hoping to roll out soon, you can be, maybe you're a senior in high school, you could be just getting a credential and not necessarily enrolled as a full-time student. So there are lots of opportunities for building on that work-based learning concept to really get some experience in the workforce, make sure you're on the right path, and build those, as you said, soft skills that are going to help you be successful in the long run. I think sometimes employers, that's their biggest need, is finding someone with those skills. Yeah. Because if you have the soft skills you need, you can almost always be taught the technical skills. But if you're falling short of how to get along with people or show up to work on time or those things, how are you ever going to even attend the training and, stay with that employer over time?
Great point. And thank you guys for putting all that program, those initiatives onto paper and pushing it us for that decision. I think I'm excited to talk about that. I'm glad we're able to bring it up. How we mentioned the Skills Development Fund is for the grant. Going back to grants, is that the most used grant that we provide? I know we have the JET grant, which is Jobs in Education for Texas. I also love this one because I get to go and look at tools. The JET grant. Can you tell us a little bit about the JET grant?
Sure. So the JET grant provides grants for equipment associated with career and technical education programs, and those could be at an independent school district, an open enrollment charter school, a community or technical college, as well as the Wyndham School District. So that equipment has to be used for training that leads to a licensed certificate or post-secondary degree.
So I've seen welding. I've seen
nursing.
Some great healthcare.
Recently, semiconductor
high-tech
technician.
Yeah.
That's while it's certainly not new to Texas, it is a newer occupation for us to fund. So we're seeing new occupations being added all the time. Actually, I was testifying in a hearing this morning about the JET program.
Oh, good.
But
I'm sure it went well.
Yeah, and so it's incredibly popular. I think last year we had about $46 million in applications and about $15 million to award.
Okay.
So if that gives you a sense of how popular it really is, and one of the things that we really appreciate about the program is, again, it's building capacity. So, yes, we're able to see the benefit to those students and the employers in the local area, because it's still an employer-driven program.
Yeah.
But that's going to pay dividends for years to come as that equipment is used by students year after year after year.
And small businesses, and we have a line of grants that you should go onto our website and take a look at. And obviously, we're going to talk about how to get access to these resources. When it comes to small businesses, though, we have a Skills for Small Business grant that's also helpful. It kind of opens the book for training to businesses that have less than 100 or 50?
Yes, it is less than 100. So if you have 99 or fewer employees, it does not count if you don't have any employees. But if you have employees here in Texas, then you can apply. The application is directly to TWC, and we have established relationships with community and technical colleges around the state. All you have to do is pick out the courses that you want, tell us which employees are going to be attending, send that to us at least 3 to 4 weeks in advance of when the individual needs to be trained, and we pay the college directly. It can be for any training that is published in the college's course catalog. So, post-COVID, we saw businesses say, you know what, I'm going to have my own employee do our accounting.
Yeah.
Can you teach them QuickBooks?
Yeah.
So here's a course in QuickBooks. Or it could be a leadership or customer service course, or it could be, any type of technical training. But for that program, because it is so quick, because we already have the established relationships, we're able to provide $2,000 worth of training to a new employee or $1,000 worth of training to an incumbent employee, in some cases within a month of your application, which is great. And you're not out of pocket as a small business. Yeah,
that's great. If I'm an employer, how do I get access to the goods? Like I said, employers, it's your money, right? It's your money being put to great work, literally helping your businesses out. We kind of talked about our outreach, our employer outreach representatives all across the state. You can also just Google the website. You can Google the grants, right?
Sure. So you can go to twc.texas.gov. Yeah. Right there at the top, there's going to be a tab that says programs. If you click on that tab, it's going to be a whole list of different grant opportunities. And that could include anything like the programs we talked about. Or again, there are some apprenticeship grants that, businesses would be eligible to participate in. We didn't even really get to dive deep into some of those opportunities. But if you just go to the twc.texas.gov, you'll find it.
And I would say, too, no ask too small.
Yeah.
We might even have some employers out there who are looking at entry-level employees and just some basics. We also are home to our adult education and literacy program here in Texas.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a matter of some instruction and vocabulary and math needed in the work site, and we have a network of AEL providers out there, too. So just as Mary said, going to our TWC website, looking at the programs that we offer, I would warn any employer out there, just get ready to be blown away. But buckle in, find our employer outreach team, let them help them navigate this, and begin to reap the benefits of what TWC has to offer.
And as all you know, the 28 different local workforce solution boards in the state of Texas, we work with them hand in glove. So if you're just walking into the office there locally, they'll be able to get you connected into what you need and actually help you literally hold your hand through the whole process. I think they do that good of work.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that they do that can be most impactful at the local level is helping employers fill jobs. So that could be through workintexas.com. That could be through job fairs. That could be all sorts of resources, labor market information, so you know how much to pay your employees, what sort of the going rate is in the area. So maybe you're losing employees and you need to know, what is the going rate for that particular position? They can help you pull that information on the local level.
That's right, labor market stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're an endless supply of resources, folks. And if you know of any of your businesses, if you're working in a business and y'all have a workforce development point of contact for your on your staff, or if that's just you because you own your own small business, send them this episode, and you will be the smartest person in the room when it comes down to getting access to these grants and to these resources. I think we covered most of what we can in what are we, about 20 minutes though?
Oh my goodness.
Even more. Time does fly by. Seriously, genuinely, thank you guys. We appreciate all the work that you and your staff are doing out in and across the state, and keep the information coming. We appreciate you guys. So thank you all for joining us one more time, and we'll wrap it up.